Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in on a wonderful Tuesday evening here on the Film Guy Network. We do it every Tuesday. We come right down the steps. We give you hot off the presser from Kirby Smart's press conference and player availability over there in Athens. And I said it earlier in the year. I don't know who we were talking about, what coach we were talking about, but I referenced Kirby in the sense that I said, man, when that dude walks in the room, like, you know, from question 1, question 2, question whatever, very, very early on in that press conference, whether or not he is in a good mood today or whether or not he is in a bad mood today. And ladies and gentlemen, he was in a bad mood today. I always go in, as you guys know, with some questions that I've cooked up and thought about and wrote down and jotted down and gotten through. And today I was curious, obviously. How do you prepare for the pace? Wanted to see if he would give me any type of insights on how they go about it. A lot of coaches do 2 huddles, 3 huddles, however many huddles you can get. It's about getting as many rapid plays as you can. They move the ball. They try to get their feet or their cleats in the ground, things like that, right? I want to know about the process. Didn't really give it to me. He said immediately, we're never going to be able to replicate their pace anyways, but we try, and I'm not going to tell you how we try. And then I had another one for him. I said, I thought this was a pretty good one, guys, and I think, honestly, we should expound upon this a little bit more later on in the show. But for the first time in Kirby Smart's tenure at the University of Georgia, they are throwing the football more than they are running the football. Now, granted, it's like 0.6, attempts per game more throwing the football, but for the first time ever. And immediately he was like, we had Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel when I got here, so no, we're going to run the football more. They were first-round draft picks, in my opinion. So, no, I don't think it means anything. And I wrote down my notes like 3 minutes in. I'm like, man, he is not happy. And not that I'm like, always begging or always needing good answers or like great answers or whatever, and sometimes he's short with everybody, whatever. That's not the point. The point was, normally that question is a time for Kirby Smart to go into recruiting mode and start talking about, hey, for all these times we didn't have all these weapons and now we start recruiting better players at that position. I also think it says a little bit more about our quarterback development. Hey, shouts out to Mike Bobo. Hey, maybe we start getting more of these wide receiver weapons, yada, 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 right? Tremendous opportunity for him to talk about, how much things have changed. Because I remember a press conference in 2019 after an LSU football game in which he said, we run the same concepts as everybody else. We just got to go out and get better players. I remember him saying that. I know he remembers saying that, right? Those kind of things. That's an opportunity for him to get out there and say, hey, we've gone out and done those things. We need to continue to go out and do those things. Nah, he wasn't about it. And why wasn't he about it today? Well, they didn't practice very well, all right? And it was Mark Weiser who asked him, hey, Coach, had a top 10 matchup last week. How do you get your football players up, ready to go again for a matchup that, wasn't as highly touted this year as last year? I can't remember exactly how Mark phrased it, but that's paraphrased, right? And his immediate answer was, well, we obviously can't do it this week. We had a bad practice today. The energy was low, and he said we had stacked 5 or 6 really good Tuesdays in a row. And today was very, very disappointing. Boys, I've always told you about it. It's very palpable. You've been in a couple of these rooms nowadays. It would have been a rough day to be walking in there for the first time being like, hey, I'm finna give me a Kirby Smart question in today, because the room was not, it was palpable. It was tense from the head man today. Welcome in, by the way. I just wanted an excuse to drink some coffee, by the way.
No, Kirby Smart definitely has that presence about him that is it is that intimidating at times, especially if you haven't been around him a lot. So I can't imagine what it's like being a first-time reporter. For anyone who was in there, having to deal with that today.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's one of those rooms where you got to dip your toe in the water a little bit, feel the environment around, and you got to kind of know when is the right time for me to ask my first question, or really, like, if you're still new to this, even if you have asked a couple questions, like, maybe today isn't the day where I work my question in this time.
This is a really deep cut for the really avid Georgia fans. But if you're listening to every Tuesday press conference, you should be probably on Dogs Daily. Got tremendous audio over there. I know some people got audio issues. We have tremendous audio on them press conference over there due to some heavy investment on some technology. Because I was telling somebody today, ain't nothing gonna get somebody in the comments quicker than shitty audio. Like immediately up in the comment section, letting folks know. But anyways, we have tremendous audio. You should watch it. But if you watch those Tuesday press conferences, Jordan Hill always does a tremendous job of asking the first question, and it's the same one every time. Coach, couple days into practice this week, how you feel? And if we would have let him serve that softball today, we, by meaning me, because I jumped on the ball immediately with the pace question that he didn't necessarily love, we would have gotten the sentiment and the tone immediately. But I think we got the sentiment and the tone pretty quickly anyways. So we have some injury news that actually came out of today's press conference. C.J. Smith, the talented and speedy wide receiver out of Florida, has been dealing with a knee injury. Pretty extensive timetable on this one, it sounded like, from Kirby. Sounded like he's been dealing with it for a little while. So he didn't dress last week. Warren Brinson obviously had a calf strain on Saturday. Sounds like he hasn't been able to do very much this week. But veteran football player, doesn't need a ton of practice. If he's ready to go on Saturday, I would imagine they play him, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about that one. If he's available to go, he'll go. The practice availability doesn't necessarily indicate whether or not he's going to play, in my expert opinion, on that one. That's not sourced or anything. I thought he gave us some really, really good quotes on Tennessee's offense throughout you got to see through the tone here. He talked about the running game and how they are explosive. And we're going to talk about this offense from a film standpoint here in a little bit. But I wanted to mention this one because he was asked about their run game. Obviously, Jalen Hyatt and this the other two backs, Smallwood, or the two S's. Anyways, the other two backs have done a really, really good job this year in that backfield. And he mentioned, they're not playing in a phone booth. I think his terminology was they play in a farm or in a field, like a farm field, basically, out there in a cornfield, right? They play out in space, essentially, where they make you defend the run, and he used the term light boxes, or I think he mentioned favorable counts, which is light boxes, right? They always get those, and they always get an ability to get hats on hats, meaning they got 5 guys, you got 5 guys, they might have a 6th with a ball carrier and a quarterback, both who are now rushing threats at this point in the season. So that ideology of they aren't playing in a phone booth, so when they do slip runs, they're going to be explosive, right? When they get through the first 5 defenders or whatever the light box or favorable count is, you don't have anybody within 10, 15 yards of them because they got wide receivers, everybody else spread outside the numbers, right? That is their ideology. We play the pass out here, we make you play the run in here. For our audio audience, I'm talking about playing the pass outside the numbers, and I'm talking about playing the run inside the box. That's what they force you to do. I thought it was interesting yesterday I asked him about how do you play the run against light boxes, and I can't remember exactly how he answered it, but he didn't really give it to me on that one. But he slid it in here in this answer of, you're always going to be playing them against light boxes because you have to spread bodies out and play them against the pass. He talked about the crowd noise, the fake crowd noise that he uses during the week. Said he wouldn't go without it, right? Wouldn't want to go play on the road without that crowd noise, but doesn't know how much of a role it plays. His players seem to believe that it is louder inside the indoor stadium or indoor facility than it is on the road, at least, in terms of Auburn. And I think they obviously, most of these seniors have been to Neyland Stadium, so they've played there as well. So, but no, I think it was palpable. The mood was noticeable. He was very, very pissed off today during his press conference. And had a wardrobe change. Was in the black coach's top, not in the red wired or worn out coach's top. So maybe, just maybe, the Nike team got him a new one. I didn't check the elastic band. You know, that's what his beef was. He doesn't like the other coaches' tops because they started making them with elastic bands. He likes the ones that are free flowing down there. Way too deep into the analysis of the Kirby Smart press conference today. But that's what you guys are here for. Welcome into tonight's show. We have a loaded one for you. Obviously, there is some college football rankings coming up. That's going to be our 9 o'clock hour. Normally, it's boom right here at 8 because we've already got the rankings. Isn't that correct? Anyway,
Yeah,
normally we already have them by now. We've been watching them at 7 o'clock. Tonight, obviously, they moved back to 9 o'clock, so we will be doing a live broadcast here, reacting and responding to the college football playoff rankings. Round 4? Round 3. Round 3 of the college football playoff rankings coming tonight. We will be talking, obviously, as you can tell by the title of tonight's show, whether or not Georgia deserves to be number 1. I believe you guys obviously have your thoughts and opinions on that one. We're going to talk about which streak ends. There's a couple streaks on the line Saturday. Maybe we get a streaker. Neyland Stadium strikes me as one that might, get a naked fan going on. But a couple streaks going on out there. Tennessee fans never know. I got a couple streaks going on. Which one might come to an end on Saturday? One of them has to. What challenges does Tennessee present? The boys and I will talk about that. What could have been, man. I know you left on the show sheets could be the greatest road or most hectic road environment possible in Kirby Smart. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know which ones, rank up there, but this very well could have possibly been one of the wildest ones. I think that's the better topic. What Tennessee stole from us in terms of being some mid in a couple of football games this year. And, of course, we're going to start tonight's show with what I've learned from the tape. Tremendous time to be here on the network and a tremendous time to be associated with this network because it's booming. Just went over 17,000 subscribers. So, boys, let's give them 3. We appreciate you guys, man. We are blowing up. I really do believe that 25,000 mark is attainable. So if you're watching us tonight and you have not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that button, hit that thumbs up button here on this channel as well. Also want to give some love to our friends over at Prize Picks, okay? If you use promo code Brooks today, you can get 100% deposit match. What does that mean? You put up to $100, you get $100 instantly matched over there on Prize Picks using promo code Brooks. I mean, how dope is that? We don't even have a Brooks, 1010. We don't have it's just a flat Brooks. It's just nice and simple. BROOKS. So there you go. And I also want to give a quick shout out to our friends at the Athletic Collection. All of these dope and fine posters you see around this fine studio are made available over at the Athletic Collection. The link to that description is in the bio of this YouTube video. Okay, so if you hit that little more on the YouTube description, you will find that under the title, I believe, posters, : So yeah, we got a great show for you guys. I want to go ahead and allow you guys to talk about whatever you want to talk about while I take a quick swig.
Whoa. Been a tough day, huh?
Sig break.
Hey, you know what? Every time we do Man on the Street, I'm like, hell yeah, Big Tobacco. Them SIGs out here still ripping darts, man.
Yeah, they are.
But folks, I mean, walking by me, just heater after heater. And they tend to walk in packs. Pun intended. I also want to give some shout outs to some super subs right now. Our boy Busta in Augusta gave us 2, so we have 2 free subscriptions there. And our guy Gas Dog MD coming in again. Man, your wife's gonna be hot when she reads through the accountant slips this week. But we do have 4 free subs. But yeah, what do you guys got for today's show? Are you juiced or what?
Yeah, no. Going back to that audio they play in the stadium for practice. We were driving down. I was getting gas at the Shell right on the corner of Millage. And you can hear the stadium from the – so they definitely have it plenty loud.
It's nuts.
Yeah, you'd hear the crowd, and then you hear Kirby on the mic, and then sometimes you hear a little bit of both. But I was going to comment on the Prize Picks a little bit.
Yeah.
Christian and I were talking about it beforehand. We put in those season total locks earlier in the year, and I didn't even know it, but apparently mine's about to cash in. I think Quinn Ewers needs like 650 more yards. Frank Gore Jr. needs like 10. Marvin Harrison has already hit. And then I think yours is also going to cash as well.
Brock Bowers needs 100 more receiving yards, and Caleb Williams needs, I think, like 300 more passing yards.
Yeah.
Now, are these done into regular season?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I would imagine, right?
I would think either regular season, or I would think also that conference championship games would also count potentially.
I feel like that would count.
I love how this network, every single time SIGs are mentioned, Todd Munkin's name gets brought up in the chat, and that to me is just getting the show. If there is an epitome of getting the show, that would be it right there. What's in your cup? And rip them heaters, Toddy. Man, I bet that press box in Baltimore just reeks. I'm just kidding. Let's get on to the film. I watched Tennessee today. We broke it down. I think we spent about 40 minutes. How long was film breakdown today? 35 minutes?
About 40 minutes.
35, 40 minutes over there on Tennessee's offense. Okay, we broke it down, watched it on the film. If you want to check that out, it's on Patreon, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Also comes with one of the best Georgia communities active over there on Discord as well. So patreon.com/Brooks Austin if you want to watch that. All right, if you don't, I'm about to give you the synopsis of it, and it's probably going to make you want to watch it. So let's go. Let's talk about offensive line first and foremost. They used to run a lot of H insert, and they still do, but it was like their primary play, right? They're going to take the H back, a.k.a. their tight end, and they're going to just plug him right into the middle of the offensive line. It was basically their way of running, for you old school folks, fullback ISO, right? Just a lead block right down the middle of the line of scrimmage. Okay, it's basically their way of doing that. You remember watching film study last week, or if you watched it on Monday, talking about tackle power, where Ole Miss was pulling the left or right tackle and kind of inserting him on the front side of the play while down blocking, on the front side of the play as well, just trying to add a hat to the front side. Tennessee does it as well. Very similar concept. So you're going to have some carryover from this week to last week in terms of run design, how they're going to attack you. It was funny that Kirby kind of alluded to this earlier in the week, said it's a very similar assignment in terms of alignment and assignment. They run a lot faster. They play a lot faster. But in terms of just what they do and how they do it from a run game perspective, it's relatively similar. It showed up on tape today when I watched it, particularly with that tackle and that H insert, which are two things that you guys repped and played against last week against Ole Miss. Now, Tennessee fans listening and watching this, your algorithm found it. You're not going to like this, particularly because I've noticed that the Mays family did a lot of good for Tennessee football. It was kind of a win for you guys over Georgia, I would imagine you feel, A 2-year starter for you, and the younger brother going to start for you for almost like 3.5, I think. But I'm here to tell you, I've been watching Cooper Mays fall on his face in the SEC for about 3 years now, and it's just not great. It's not great, Bob. And I watch it over and over and over and over again, and I'm just shocked. I'm shocked that they don't replace it. I'm shocked that, and I can relate to it. I said this on film today because I was that guy. I was lighting the ass playing center, believe it or not. At one point, I was underweight for my job title. Now, drastically the other side, but that's beside the point, This man's a little bit underweight, a little bit undersized, if you will, at that center position. He gets snatched on his face because he plays over his toes a little bit too much. He's not great in my opinion, and neither are they from the offensive guard positions either. 78, their left guard, super vulnerable from an athletic perspective. When I see these big uglies, when I see these guys that can't move laterally, I just know Georgia's going to eat their lunch, because Georgia does way too much when they notice you can't move laterally. If you can't move laterally, they're disciplined enough to run slants or run stunts against you and still maintain gap integrity. The tackles, they're big. They're really, really big. I think they're susceptible, as always, Tennessee tackles are, to the speed rush, except for Darnell Wright. That guy was a superstar. He was an NFL football player. Let's talk a little bit about their run game extended to the running back room. They've magically, despite all of what I just told you about their offensive line, they've magically managed to run the football probably as good or if not better than anybody in this conference. So let's hard stop right there before we start talking about Jalen Wright, the running back. Guys, that tells me something about this system. That tells me something about Josh Heupel's offense. It's going to work. They don't have great offensive line play right now from what I'm watching on tape. They don't have a great passing attack from what we're all seeing, both in the box score and on tape. They have inconsistent quarterback play. Yet, despite all of this, they are still running the football highly effectively. Now, we can say it's about Jalen Wright. He's averaging 7.2 yards per carry, but the backup's averaging, I think, over 5, and his backup's averaging over 4.5. So they can still kind of run the ball no matter what, despite all of the factors. So, again, hard stop. Kudos to Josh Heupel, because you're doing something that I didn't necessarily know was always going to be effective in this conference, against elite line of scrimmage play. So it's a good system for running the football. Let's talk about Jalen Wright. He doesn't need much room at all. I'm talking about slivers. All right, slivers of space, and this guy's just right through. All right, he's a one-cut back. He's very, very akin to Alvin Kamara, in my opinion. He's very, very akin to My man Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama last year. Dude, as soon as he sees it, it's 0 to 100 right now, all right? And that's why they've been so explosive on the ground, because as soon as there's daylight, all right, he's in the gas, and then once he's past that light box that we talked about earlier in Kirby's presser, all right, notes, when they get past that light box, it's 17, 18, 19 yards before someone's getting him down, all right, because everybody's so spread out outside the numbers. 7.2 yards per carry, and again, in my humble opinion, it's all him and run scheme. They do a tremendous job as well as of bouncing the football. This is a football team in Georgia that's like, hey, we want you to bounce the ball, right? Don't let you run north and south. That's the concepts at Georgia. Well, they kind of prefer to bounce. They're okay with it. You know why? Again, everybody outside the numbers. So this outside the tackle box to the top of the numbers, a lot of grass out there and a lot of room for them to bounce and get outside, and they do it well with counter. They log counter as well as anybody that I've seen. I haven't talked about log in a long time, but logging is essentially when you run counter and yeah. All right, here we go. See, again, what would you do with my ADD ass if we didn't have none of this? Again, magical. All right, so logging. Let's talk about logging. I had somebody in the comment section today saying, can we get like some basic terminology, shows? All right, log. I don't know why they called it a log. Can't tell you. But normally we have a log and we have a kick, right? A kick out block is on counter. All right, that front side guard pulls and he kicks out the end man on the line of scrimmage, right? We want to kick him out here. We're trying to crease this right here. But eventually, when teams started running counter over and over and over and over again, right? Eventually, this end started saying, man, shit, as soon as I see down block from this guy, I'm turning and I'm spilling. I'm going to squeeze, right? And they call it a dent now. Used to, they'd turn and spill, do it Chaz Chambliss style, run your face through that guy's face, just absolutely crush him. A lot of defensive ends don't really play like that no more. They pass rushers. They're not, bulls, okay, like Chaz Chambliss. So once guys started squeezing, offensive coordinators were like, all right, offensive guard, be an athlete. If you see this guy squeezing space and you can't kick him out, all right, we want to get to his upfield shoulder. We want to get to his outside shoulder and pin him inside. For some reason, they called it a log technique. That's what we have. All right, they do this really, really well. All right, and then the tight end is the one they actually run it with. This tight end, who I think is a non-threat in the passing game, all right, he does a great job of reading the block with the running back, all right? He has to be able to see and decipher what the guard's doing so he can either, hey, insert where there's a crease, right? If we kick out, we got to insert as the second guy, all right? But if we log him, if we get around the edge, we got to be able to bounce with the back and pick up whatever additional space defender ultimately comes, right? We got to pick up the +1 out there. So that's a log technique. They do a really good job of getting it executed, all right? And it's why they've been able to bounce runs so successfully. Man, again, who else doing it like that? Don't know. Matter of fact, ain't nobody but ESPN and Dan Orlovsky, and they got about, I don't know, $1 billion, something that we ain't got, but we got some effort and we got some ingenuity, all right, and we got dreams and aspirations that we get it done around here. I want to talk about this tight end because he a non-threat. Listen to this name, guys. McCallan Castles. McCallan Castles. I think he's a transfer from UC Irvine by way of Cal. So this is his third college. He is, of course, a fifth, maybe sixth-year senior, and he's about 6'6", 255 pounds. He might as well be an offensive lineman, all right? Against Georgia. I know what the stat sheet's going to say, Tennessee fans, so don't get pissed off. I think the difference between last year and this year, one of them that gets like completely overlooked, I thought Princeton Fant was a guy that could detach and actually like force coverage outside the box, all right? And then when he added in the box, he could also block really, really well. This kid blocks really well, but against a football program like Georgia where athletes are in abundance, this is a non-threat, a non-factor, okay? They can cover him with just about anybody. And even if he gets behind, they going to run that ass down. So I'm not necessarily worried about the tight end being a threat, though he is a good, serviceable blocker. Let's talk about the quarterback and wide receiver as we wrap things up here with our offensive film observations. We'll bring you the defense tomorrow. We're only halfway done cooking Tennessee. How about that? Or cooking up the recipe on Tennessee, I should say. I always forget, man. we can't just keep speaking to the Georgia audience because sometimes we be clipping these things for the Tennessee fans. And I'm not placating to you. I'd give it to you either way. But the jokes can't always lean your way. I got to give you back some the other way every once in a while. Even though I did give you compliments, I think the system's going to work. Quarterback, man, Milton is who I thought he was. He is who we thought he was. He stares it down always. All right. I watched the what tape did I watch today? We watched their most recent game. Who'd they just play? Missouri. We watched Missouri tape, and I'll be damned if the Missouri space defender, if the Missouri edge defender, if he ever practiced turning his head back around and picking a ball off, by God, he'd have about 4 of them. Because as soon as the ball snapped, Missouri's in bail. They're playing just, man coverage way off. So they're throwing a bunch of comebacks, all right, and a bunch of speed outs and a bunch of, real underneath stuff, basically what Tennessee's been doing all year. It's why his yards per attempt are really, really bad, or not necessarily what they should be for a Tennessee offense, right? What you're seeing is okay, they're throwing everything underneath, and he's just downset hut. He just staring right at it. And all of a sudden, whoop, 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 everybody start floating over there. And again, he's got elite arm talent, so he just rips it over that guy's head, and that guy don't pay attention. That guy's not athletic enough to get his head around. Well, you about to play a team with a bunch of 5-stars, all right? And they are athletic enough to get their head around. So don't stare it down, Joe Milton, even though we're 10 games into this, all right, 5 years into this. And, yeah, he's still staring it down as a fifth-year guy. He's a good athlete. All right, he is. But I would take Jackson Dart as a runner over this. Jackson Dart will make you miss. Jackson Dart's sometimes hard to hit. But Jackson Dart's laterally a lot more athletic than this guy. He can evade pockets, and he can, again, make you miss. Joe Milton's best attribute as a runner is to hope he is going north and south. If he's got to make anybody miss, he's very, very vulnerable to taking big shots. All right, so there's that. I don't necessarily worry about the legs as much as I even did Hendon Hooker. Hendon was a tremendous athlete. He made guys miss quite often. But the overthrows, man, the overthrows from this guy on the underneath coverages, I mean, it's not if, it's when. It's going to happen. Every single time I've seen this dude throw speed outs, every tape I've watched, there's been a speed out thrown to the daggum sideline 3 rows up, essentially, where, Squirrel Wright's running a speed out, and he goes to jump, one hand sticks it up, okay, can't even touch it. Now, I know Squirrel Wright's 5'10", but come on, man. It's a lot. It's a lot to overcome from the quarterback position, and from the wide receiver position, they've been decimated. And it's part of the reason why Joe's struggled. All right, I don't think a lot of people talk about how much this offense is predicated off of options where, hey, if they do this, I do that, right? And when you have a bunch of moving parts, which they've had at the wide receiver position, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, and Brew McCoy, all right, all NFL football players, 2 of them gone to the NFL, 1 of them just broke his ankle earlier in the year, definitely not going to come back, not going to be available in this football game. So when you have a bunch of these moving parts, all right, I don't care how good Squirrel White is. I don't care how good the transfer Thornton is from Oregon. It's going to take a while, and it's taken longer than probably most expect. But that being said, they can still play downset hut, chuck it up. All right, they can still throw it 60 yards against one-on-one coverage and make you defend a deep ball. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is enough to create some scoring opportunities. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch Georgia Tech 2022, last year at home. Yep. Georgia Tech scores, I think, 21 points in that football game.
It was 17, I believe.
17, damn near wins Brent Kea's job, essentially. They played tough first half. You know that that kind of thing. And all it was, downset hut, chuck it up. They had their matchup in the slot. And, this football team will find theirs in that same spot as well, but way out, extended outside the numbers. Yep. Thoughts on that little breakdown on Tennessee, boys?
So do you think that they're going to handle this kind of similar to how they did Missouri, where you put Malachi on the slot guy for the vertical threats? Or
no, because they're going to play outside the numbers. I think the Tennessee matchup boils down to corner play sometimes, but it's really about safety play. It's really about safety play and how much ground can they cover while also maybe showing presence in the box and being able to decipher between run and pass. You got the 2 best safeties in college football, in my opinion, based on what we're seeing in tape. The only argument I would have, and the only one I would listen to, is Miami. Okay, Cam Kitchens and James Williams, they're really good football players, and they have maybe not Malachi. Malachi's the most elite prospect of all of them, but the other 2 outrank Bullard in terms of just outright attributes, height, weight, speed type discussions. But no, I think it's a big safety football game and also like a light box count football game. So this is, hey, C.J. Allen might play I would imagine they make him. No, Smile's always been the extended player in the box. So he's going to play kind of split the difference, okay? And then C.J. Allen would have to man the box by himself, at Mike, essentially. Because a lot of defenses go 3 down against them, and they play 3 backers. I don't know what Georgia's going to do. Georgia opened up odd last year. They opened up in 3 down, put Marvin Jones out in space and kind of flexed him and just said, hey, there's an avatar out there. So he just going to stand there, try to throw around that big tree. You know what I mean? They did that for like the first 3-4 snaps. Yeah. And then they get a 3-and-out from Tennessee. The next possession, they walk out 4-2 nickel, 4-2-5, and just said, we playing Georgia football today. We're going to hit you in the mouth. We're going to play man coverage, and this is what we're doing. I don't know if that's necessarily the game plan. I don't know what the game plan is at this point with this defense. They're going to have to overcome corner play, though. I'm telling you, this is a downset hut, chuck it up offense. Yep. It will ultimately result to that. They are going to hope and pray that they can hit 6 balls on Dalen Everett's head top. That's what they're hoping and praying right now, I would imagine, in Knoxville, Tennessee.
So do you think Tennessee will continue? Like, we talked about how teams are avoiding Malachi Starks. Do you think Tennessee will be able to do that the same way that like Missouri and Ole Miss have kind of done it?
So, in a sense, because they're very much so half-field reads. Yeah. But you can't do what they want to do, which last year was a bunch of into the boundary stuff. Yeah. So if you're going to be they are predictable. Don't get me wrong. And it's okay to say that about them. They are predictable. They are going to do what they do, and we know what they do. They run in tight boxes, right, or light boxes. They spread everybody outside. They're going to run a bunch of option concepts, going to have some, motion to screen concepts, things like that. They're going to play fast. We know what they do. But no, I don't know if there's any like change up here in terms of game plan.
So is this a game where you say, because I know we talk about how C.J. Allen stretches the field more with his speed than necessarily a Pop would. Is this a game where you say Pop was probably a better fit to play against this offense?
Yeah. It's been interesting. I've respected, and I texted you guys before the show. I said, remind me to give thoughts on Kiffin and Drink. I've respected the way those two guys have tried to approach the concepts of the football game. And what they've done is they've established a game plan off what they knew they could do and what they knew they could win, right? What Missouri did was they ran a lot of back shoulder fades, right, picking on corners, right? We're going to throw very safe throws. We're going to try to convert first downs, and we're going to live off quarterback draw. Right? That's what they did. Why did they do that? They thought their quarterback, Brady Cook, a little bit more athletic out of empty boxes against Jamon Dumas-Johnson, or as we call him, Pop, right? That's what that is, guys. If a football team comes out and says, all right, we're going to motion to empty and we're going to run quarterback draw, that means they think they can trick the 4 down and their quarterback and running back are going to be able to handle the mic. That's what that is, right? Because Smile Mondon was outside the box against an empty look. So that's what he did. He attacked corner play, and he attacked the matchup between Brady Cook and Pop. All right, well, flash forward to the next week. What does Lane do? Well, Lane says, okay, they got 2 freshman linebackers. So as soon as Raylan Wilson's on the field, he puts the dude in conflict, right? He runs an arc, like a swing route from the running back, and he runs an out and up from the tight end, okay? Well, Raylan Wilson's sitting there in his zone drop, and he's like, well, which guy do I go to? Wrong. You didn't pick one. So I'm going to throw it to here, right? And you always pick the guy going deep, by the way, Five. So he picked on Raylan Wilson. All right, the very first play of the game, what did he do? Try to throw a deep ball on Dalen Everett. All right, so they knew they could win that matchup, but they thought they could win that matchup. All right, so then we're going to pick on Raylan Wilson. All right, the next time C.J. Allen gets into the field, we're going to motion, and we're going to try to make him run with one of our fastest guys over the middle of the field. We're going to hit him with an explosive. And so you sit here and you're like, well, there are ways to score. There are ways to score. And then I tell you, hey, I just gave you like 6 plays to be able to move the football. You're going to have to play 55, 60 snaps today to win a football game on the offensive side of the football. And there's only 6 answers. There's only 6 winners. The rest of the time, you got to line up and beat them. Georgia doesn't allow that, right? So what you see is good coordinators attack individual matchups against Georgia that they think they can win. I don't know if that's Josh Heupel's MO. Josh Heupel's we do what we do guy, right? He's not, I'm going to change the matchup. I'm going to change the mix, right? We're going to win in a different fashion today, even though he has added the run game or continued to hammer the run game element, and his defenses has evolved. Our defenses have evolved a little bit. But this isn't an offense, in my opinion, that has an individual matchup that they can seek, okay, other than we're going to stress you with the system. And I'm telling you, Georgia's defensive system over the last 2 years has not been stressed by what Tennessee does offensively, home or away.
Mm-hmm. I think they scored 17 points in both of the last matchups. Or no, they scored 13 last year. So,
yeah. Those are my thoughts, observations. We'll get to the defense a little bit tomorrow, but I do have some notes on them in terms of what challenges that you think they present. Boys, 36 minutes into the show, make sure you are hitting that thumbs up button. Hey, we are climbing, okay? We're Buffalo. We're Buffalo coming for it, all right? We're running through the meadow, just sprinting, all right? 17,000 subscribers. We're coming for 24 or 25 by the end of the season. I don't know why I said 24. I'm just an even number guy, I guess. Shouts out to Code.
Go 30 then.
30?
Yeah, that's even.
I mean, hey, I said it to open the film study. I was like, I don't know what the goal is. The goal is to get you to subscribe right now. If you're not subscribing, the goal is to get you to subscribe. So just do it. Just do it for me so we can rest on our laurels a little bit. Do not let me run into the timeline tonight and not finish the show. We're building up, guys. By the title, you can see we're going to talk college football rankings. We're going to talk who should be number one as we close the show and lead you in to our live rankings reaction show. By the way, almost 500 of you should watch the rankings show with us as we react to them live just after this here on the channel. You won't have to go nowhere. You won't even have to turn your TV on and watch ESPN. Why do that? You can watch us. Do we want to talk about what challenges do you think Tennessee presents? Did you bring me some, boys?
I mean, I think the biggest one for me that I thought of was just the run game in general. I mean, just because they have been super successful, there's a reason that they're ninth in rushing yards this season. They're averaging over 200 a game. So, I mean, that in general, because that has kind of been what worries Georgia fans about this team, is that they aren't as stout in stopping the run because maybe they don't have that interior force. And then, of course, you also have C.J. Allen now playing, but C.J. Allen played great last week. But they find ways to continue to be successful in the run game. And you know Tennessee's going to run the football. That's what they did last year. I mean, they set up everything through the run game to get the passing game going. This year, they've kind of relied on it even more because the passing game hasn't exactly been there. But they still find ways to keep it rolling. So I'd say that's obviously the biggest one in my opinion.
Yeah, the biggest thing I kind of would say is you're going to be your challenge is the way they get after the quarterback. This combined with the fact that you're going to be in what could possibly be the most hostile environment a Georgia team has ever played in under Kirby Smart. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge you're going up against coming in Saturday.
All right, I got a list of them here. I wrote down defense is fast and aggressive, fast, physical, and aggressive, and I think they are in the box. And that's all great, and that's fine. And again, it's been a tremendous turnover. Like when you turn the tape on of even Jeremy Pruitt's defenses, and then you look at the athletes, the level of athletes that they have in and around the box, a tremendous overhaul that has been done by that staff, Willie Martinez and Josh Heupel as a collective. They have dedicated resources to the defensive side of the football. That being said, they're a zone football team. They were a man pressure. They were a man blitz football team last year. They lived and died by getting after your ass. You were either going to get sacked or you were going to throw a touchdown last year against this defense. Now they have shifted the model. It looks like to me the model is much more, at least against Alabama. All right, and again, I haven't done a deep dive on them. I'm saving it for tomorrow. But it took 3 snaps. 3 snaps. I watched, boom, 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 single high safety, cover 3. And I'm like, all right, that's not who you were at a majority of the time last year. That is who you've become. That tells me they're trying to be a little bit more complementary to their offense because if we're going to play boomer bust offense, we can't play boomer bust defense. We got to have some type of complementary football. And I think, to his credit, he doesn't have a bunch of guys. They've made slight improvements. I know they just gave up half 100 to Georgia. But Pete Golden has the same approach at Ole Miss. The approach of, you're going to score anyways. I might as well make you take 15 plays to do so, right? That's kind of been we're going to get after you. We're going to confuse you a little bit, it looks like, has been the approach from Tennessee. I was trying to look through the stats and try to notice whether or not they've been feeding off the sorry-ass teams in the SEC, because I think this year, more than others, the bottom half of the conference is substantially worse than the top half of the conference, in my opinion. Do you guys agree as well?
Yeah. There's a pretty noticeable drop-off between, the top 4 teams in the East and the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bad teams are always bad. Your Vanderbilt, your Mississippi States. I mean, it seems like Auburn's kind of hanging around there this year, but your middle-of-the-road teams can always give you problems, I think.
All right, so listen to this. They gave up 183 yards rushing to Florida. They gave up 132 yards rushing to South Carolina, one of the worst rushing teams in the Southeastern Conference.
Not very good.
They gave up 138 yards to Alabama. Granted, it was 3.3 yards a carry, so that's Bama running their head against the wall. And last week, obviously, they gave up a boatload to Cody Schrader and Missouri, 255 last week. Now, here is where they have been really, really feasting. 35 yards on the ground to Connecticut. Congrats. You probably should have done that. An impressive performance, in my opinion, against Kentucky, holding them to 72 yards on the ground. Texas A&M, 54 yards on the ground, not bad. But, congrats. You held UTSA to 88 and Austin Peay to 79 in Virginia. Man, this schedule is not all that great outside of Alabama and A&M, huh? No. And A&M didn't even turn into be what we thought they were.
Nope.
This schedule, preseason, looked pretty daunting. Postseason, not all that bad.
It's funny how that's the adverse of Georgia.
Yeah.
Completely.
We're coming in this season like they have a cupcake schedule. They should go 12-0, and now you're playing 3 straight top 25 teams. 2 of them were in the top 15. So.
Absolutely. The downset HUD chuck it up, I talked about that. This is what they do, or they will do ultimately when they realize that they're not, actually having success offensively. They can play downset HUD chuck it up better than most in this conference. And the pace is always going to scare you because pace, if anything, might lead to explosives every once in a while. And like we talked about last night on the show, explosives have led to points this year for Georgia. They give them up, and the possession ultimately ends up in some type of touchdown, most likely, particularly if the explosive happens, midfield on into the red zone. That's been the Achilles heel for this defense from Georgia, a defense that's giving up 15 points per game. So let's not talk about them like they're not, one of the top 5 defenses in the country.
Yeah, I think, too, with the pace, especially being on the road this time now, it's like substitution-wise, it's a whole lot harder to communicate who's coming in and out. And we kind of saw that a little bit against Ole Miss where there was a whole misunderstanding of who was supposed to be coming in, who needed to be on the field when Ole Miss was able to get that touchdown in the red zone. So I think pace does definitely scare you in this instance, especially because you're on the road.
One of the things I was just thinking about, you watch them on film, even, man or zone, whatever it is, Willie likes to crowd the box. Okay, he's always near the box. You know what you can't do against really, really fast tight ends? You can't dedicate a bunch of bodies to the box because that guy's running behind you really, really quickly. And it's not that the safety's not there, right? It's that if the linebacker doesn't drop deep enough, the distance between him and the safety is enough to layer a football in. And then guess what happens? Brock Bowers makes the safety miss, and then boom. 75-yard touchdown, just like that, okay? Those kind of things are available when you crowd the football like they tend to do. Boys, I think we got robbed of something, particularly you and I. I know you got a wedding this weekend. Shouts out to the fall weddings. You and I got robbed of something that I think would have been absolute bonkers. Now, I've never been to Neyland, okay? So I want that prefaced when I go to follow this statement. But going into this season, I projected the Alabama loss. I thought that was going to happen. I didn't expect Florida to kick their ass.
No.
I didn't expect Mizzou preseason to box them. And now all of a sudden Tennessee's sitting here as a 3-loss football team and outside the top 25.
I don't know. We'll find out tonight.
Yeah,
We're going to find out tonight. But the AP top 25, I don't believe they're in it.
No, they were
19, something like that.
something
20,
like
20.
that.
Anyways, a lesser than ranking than we thought that was ultimately going to happen in this football game. A 10-1 or a 9-1 Tennessee football team coming into this stadium, that place would have been bonkers.
Yeah. And I still think it's going to be electric environment.
I do too.
Just because of the way last year went, where so many Tennessee fans are left bitter from that game, where Georgia's crowd basically won the game for them, or helped them win the game at least. So I think a lot of Tennessee fans are going to be coming in ready to, pay it back in full. And it's one of the most raucous environments in all of college football. So I'm still expecting a very big crowd. I think it might go up against any crowd that Kirby Smart's ever faced, but
What are those? Do we have a list of these?
So I was thinking about it.
I don't think it's been too bad.
There hasn't been a lot. 2018 LSU, you could argue, but that was a day game, and it wasn't.
They got smoked.
Yeah, that game was over pretty quickly. 2017 Notre Dame, you literally took over the stadium.
That weekend, 2018, I was in a bar, and not worth telling. Chattanooga. Don't even know why I went there. Here we go.
Chattanooga.
It was on the river. No, it wasn't even Chattanooga. It was in the mountains. What's the mountain town in northeast Georgia?
Blue Ridge?
Yeah.
Blue
there
Ridge,
you
yeah.
go. I think we were there for Oktoberfest.
Oh, there you go.
It was a good time.
But I mean,
Anyways.
the next other one will be Jordan Hare. So,
Classic ADHD, just taking my ass to the shed. Go ahead.
but yeah, no, the next one will be Jordan Hare, but that seats 20,000 less than Neyland. It only seats around 88,000. So I mean, if Neyland Stadium gets to its peak, I think it's going to be extremely loud. So depending
I'm amped.
yeah, I'm excited.
I'm juiced.
I think it's going to be the most raucous environment a Kirby Smart team's ever faced.
Send me to 3. If you're going to be in Knoxville, or if you're in the Knoxville area, if you live in Northeast Georgia, whatever, North Georgia, buy a ticket to this football game. Get up there Friday night because we're doing an event with the Players Lounge. I got a text from Keith today. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you the exact details. How about that? Me and Keith Marshall just in texting terms. Pretty dope shit going on here on the network. Here we go. Vols and Dogs, Friday, November 17th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join us for food, beverages, games, and more, plus appearances from VFL, which I believe is Vol Football, and UGA Letterman. You don't want to miss this VIP experience. Don't know where it is, but I'm sure you can find out more details on theplayerslounge.io. I will be there. I think I'm one of the keynote speakers. I don't know. We'll find out.
I'm not.
Eventually. No,
Don't worry, guys. I'm not.
Don't worry, guys. I'll be over in the corner. Those are fun. I also, this time I'm wearing neutral colors. Last time I felt like a jackass. Well, first of all, because I'm standing up there with like Tavares King and Aaron Murray, and I'm just some guy, So I'm just sitting up there, and I'm wearing like navy blue and like a lighter blue and some nice blue J's. But they're decked out in red and black, and I just look goofy. So I think I'm gonna wear something neutral like this this weekend. Not to get into the wardrobe discussions, but yeah, come out. We're gonna have a good time. If you're in that Knoxville area, make sure you're coming out and hanging out with us, guys. Where else should we go? Should Georgia be number 1? We got about 13 minutes before tonight's rankings and reactions, and that's all we have left on the docket. So let's stretch it. Let's make that thing run right quick because we got a fat chat.
I also added a guess the player. So
guess that dog. I get to play?
Yeah.
I was also going to add to, like, obviously if Oklahoma was still on the schedule, that would have been the best environment, especially knowing that that's early in the season. There's no room for them to tarnish the season prior to that game happening. And
would have been a very, very tough first road start.
Yeah, there's been a lot of potential.
Would have been a very tough first.
There's been a lot of potential for Georgia teams to go in tough environments. Bama in 2020 could have been an insane one, but
could have been nuts.
Obviously, COVID
would have been.
So extenuating circumstances have really kind of stopped it from being a super place. A lot of tough road games. So
plus next year you get to go to Austin and you get to go to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
so
next year's schedule's pretty.
You're going to get 2 really good road games next year.
Hey, listen to me, Georgia fans, and you can attest to this.
Yes.
The city of Austin, that's worth the trip. All right,
100%.
Going out there. I mean, even as like a non-drinker nowadays, like even the nightlife out there, like I know you feel like not there. Like sometimes when I feel like when we go out in Nashville, sometimes I'm like, man, I don't want to be here because what are you doing here if you're not drinking, kind of deal.
Yeah.
But when I go out in Austin, man, that city, bro, it got a vibe about it. Man.
Vibes are great.
I'm excited.
Homeless Alley smells a little bit different. Though.
Yeah.
Homeless Alley
avoid
smells
that section of the town
out there in Austin. So avoid that. But cordial homeless people.
Yeah.
Nice homeless people out there in Austin, and tremendous food. Food out there in Austin. So next year, I know we're looking ahead, Georgia fans. Make sure you take a trip out there at some point.
For sure.
Let's talk about it. Got a college football playoff rankings coming up here in a little bit. Just from the Georgia perspective, let's talk about it there. Do they deserve to be number 1? Why?
Yeah, I think they do, especially considering that this is now 2 ranked opponents back-to-back weeks. You showed up for both of those games. You obliterated one of them, put up 50 points, and that's the type of game where people recognize it, and people have recognized it as such of like, okay, Georgia is back to being the best team in the country. They look like the best team in the country. Regardless of what the national title odds say right now, I think people are recognizing Georgia's like, oh, they're back now to what the standard that they are playing of Georgia should be the team that you fear to play right now because they're peaking.
You dropped a little tidbit there. What are the national title odds right now?
Michigan's first.
Yeah.
Michigan, I believe, is plus 200 and Georgia's plus 250.
So, okay. All right. That's fine. I mean, that's fine. I mean, Michigan's a good football team. They
Plus,
got not an easier route.
They
got an easier route. Georgia's got to play at Tennessee, and they got to play Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, so in that grand scheme of things, it makes sense.
At home, by the way.
Yeah. What is funny is that Jim Harbaugh was like, we need to be America's team
quote.
because we're going to defy the odds. Everybody loves a team that can go against the odds.
Just
Quote was
weird.
gross.
Weird.
Yeah, it was.
Georgia.
Yeah, I got a lot of shit last week for saying that.
Did you really?
From y'all, yeah.
Oh, just from us. I
Yeah,
thought you were
from- what are you
talking
talking
about. Well,
about?
yeah, I mean, that's our job. When you
From saying
when
the
you have a
committee
bad
got it
take.
right for putting Georgia at 2, but when you beat the number 9 team, that's a good win. When you beat the number 9 team by 35 points and they hold them to 17, that's a great win.
Yeah.
When you beat a team by 5 touchdowns, put up 52, 600 yards of offense against the number 9 team in the country, you're the number 1 team. It doesn't really matter what Ohio State did, especially the fact that they played Michigan State. Georgia has now shown you that they are the number 1 team. They deserve that spot. So
Chat's
absolutely.
asking if the rankings have come out. They come out at 9 o'clock. We will have a live reaction show starting in 9 minutes. As that one kicks off, we'll be kicking off here. So we'll have all the news and notes for you. If you prefer to listen to us, I would love you for it. All right, stick around. We have a whole nother, because you know you're going to go watch it anyways. Don't lie to yourself. You're going to go watch that college football ranking show anyway, so you might as well hang out with us and watch it here. I'm going to go yes here in this category as well. It is between Georgia and Michigan, in my opinion. And watching, I'm never going to advocate for football teams playing the way that Michigan did this past weekend. I don't care if they won the way that they needed to win or they won the way that they could win or whatever that junk is. You have to be able to show to me that when a defense is limiting you, that you can actually threaten them at all times. A great football team, a national championship football team, would have gone out and cut throat in that second half. They would have not just set on a lead and played Bobby Boucher football like we've been talking about all week. And again, I think it's not necessarily malpractice considering Jim Harbaugh wasn't there, but malpractice isn't the right word. It's hard-headed, all right? It's what is expecting the same results over and over again?
Insanity.
Yeah, it's his definition of insanity. They have shown me to be a football team that thinks they can just bully their way to a national championship. This wasn't just this year. This was last year. This was when they had Cade McNamara. This has been them. They think they can walk through the Big Ten playing ISO football and playing 9 offensive linemen, and that's fine, and you can do that. But guess what? You might have to score 50 to beat TCU, all right? And I don't think they can do that now at this point because I watched them sit on the football in the second half. And also, by the way, we don't know if they're going to have their head football coach the rest of the year. I thought one of the best takes that we've delivered on this network was a stolen take from this weekend, all right, from a Michigan fan. My boy Cam, all right? I said it on Sunday service. That looked to me like an offensive coordinator and an offensive staff in the second half that just didn't want to lose the football game, and they knew they could squat on it. And again, that's fine, but you cannot win national titles afraid to win or lose football games, all right? We've watched that, particularly from the Georgia perspective, year after year after year until they found an offense that could score 45 when asked to do so. They didn't win those games. In fact, they scored like 17 points in most of them, all right? There was a streak forever when if Georgia quarterbacks threw for 30 yards or 30 attempts, they wouldn't win a football game. I don't know what that stat is right now at Michigan, but I would venture to say it's probably not great. It's probably not great over the history prior to at least this early part of the year with J.J. McCarthy. Now they've reverted back to playing Michigan football again. But nonetheless, I think it is Georgia because they are the most well-rounded football team right now. And I'm petrified. I would be petrified of that offense from Georgia. It's something that I think Lane hit on in his post-game press conference, and I think the people that I talked to that have played Georgia this year say the same thing. Damn, that offense is way better than I thought. We did not give them enough credit in the prep for what they are and what they were going to do to us or what they had the ability to do to us. So, yeah, I think Georgia should be number 1. And even if you just stack the top 10 matchups, I know one was on the road, one was at home. They absolutely dominated Ole Miss for 4 quarters. And, Michigan, you can say that was utter domination, but it wasn't.
It's different.
It wasn't. They
domination.
outgained Penn State by 38 yards in that football game or something like that. It wasn't utter domination. It was sit on the football, and that's fine. But you're not a goddamn duck laying an egg, all right? You're trying to play a football game and score points.
Georgia put up 50 points because they wanted to.
Yeah.
That's the type of domination it was against Ole Miss. They didn't have to. They could have sat on the ball, but they wanted to put up 50 points against Ole Miss, and they did. And also, I'll comment on this real quick of the fans saying, they're going to be number 1, but I want them to be number 2. I was listening to Tate and Zion talk last week on their podcast, and they got asked about the rankings of like, oh, what do you think about you guys being number 2? And both of them were like, to be honest, we didn't even know the rankings were going on. It doesn't get mentioned at the program. It doesn't get mentioned around the players. Like, nobody watches it. Nobody even talks about it. So they don't care, guys. I know that they say that all the time, but you don't have to worry about this thing of, oh, they're going to get complacent when they get number 1. It may do something for the fans, but it doesn't do anything to that team, I promise you.
They care until they don't.
Yeah.
You know? And it's the great thing about I as a coach, I would wish that they wouldn't leak, but I understand when they do. But we learned from him that he clearly uses this as motivation every once in a while. It was leaked before the national championship game. It wasn't actually his pregame speech. I don't know when he gave that one, but he gave a pretty raucous pregame speech about how Fox didn't believe in them, and them mother effers on Fox had him ready to play, the next day. So, like, man, we know you use it at some point, but again, it's when you need it most. Over the years, it's not been every single week on that. So short and simple, yes, I do believe Georgia should be the number 1 team this week. Will they be? I don't know, because Ohio State did handle business this weekend against a really, really bad Michigan State football team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's do this guess the play real quick.
Yeah, let's do this guess.
So I got one player. I got 5 hints for you.
All right, let's hear it.
Hit number 1. This player was a transfer from another Power 5 school.
Okay.
Not a lot for you there.
You're trying to get me with Dominic Lovett. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
From somewhere to Georgia?
Yes.
Okay.
From a Power 5 school to Georgia. Go ahead.
And it's from the last 5 years.
Ooh.
So you got.
It's not active?
Yeah, not active.
Lawrence Cager.
Nope.
All right, come on.
This player played offense.
All right.
This player had 1 receiving touchdown in 2019.
Eli Wolf.
Eli Wolf.
Wow, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Eli Wolf, painter.
Painter.
Yeah. Funny thing. Eli Wolf, one of the first players that came onto the network. I interviewed him I used to do this show called SEC Nightly. If you're an OG right now and you remember SEC Nightly, please, for the love of God, let me know, because I got to get you something, man. Wow, was that some shit content. Thank you, for the love of God, for watching that, because that was my first try at nightly content. Like, I'm going to do a nightly show. And you know what? We got this network of all these writers at Fan Nation. I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to book them. I'm going to get them on the show. Didn't work. Was not great. It was my first stab at national content. This is our second stab at national content. We're doing much better on this one. Where was I going with SEC United?
Eli Wolf.
Oh, yeah. I had him on. And I had kind of gotten some intel that he liked painting or something like that. And I had someone Photoshop his face onto Bob Ross with the paint. It's funny. It's a funny interview. You ought to go watch it, because I hit him with that over the top of the head. Yeah. And he didn't know that I knew that he was a closet painter. It was funny. It was funny to watch his face kind of laugh and pop off at that. Yeah, so apparently some folks in the chat been with us since like that had to be like 1,300 subscriber Brooks. Yeah. I don't even think it was called the Film Guy Network. It definitely wasn't called the Film Guy Network at that time. I don't even know if it was called the Film Guy. It might have been called Brooks Austin or something.
I've been around for a while. I don't even remember.
You don't even remember that
either.
No.
Yeah, no. I remember doing the first episode of it in the corner of my living room downstairs because I had to sit next to the Wi-Fi router. And, yeah, bro, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Hey, give the show 3. Love that, man. How about that? 17,000 subscribers, brand new freaking TV studio. We got lights, we got cameras, we got action. It's a great job. And we got another live, guaranteed banger of a show coming up in about 30 seconds over there on our live reaction show. Come join us. We'd love to talk some ball with you. We'll see you.